And I'm going to come back to you. Let's see. We are live on Facebook. All right. Hi, everyone. So this is my third of these for this week so far. We did one at 1:30 with Marissa, one of the Yes You Can Get Pregnant e-course students. And now we are here live with Jody. And we are, well, I'll let you share your story, of course. Jody and I have been working together. I mean, you joined the Yes You Can Get Pregnant e-course in what year?
The end of 2018.
Right. 2018. And then you did the elite program with me in March, right? February you joined this year,
Yep.
2020.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, why don't you share a bit? So I want to be forthcoming too of like we have a lot of stories that are coming on of women who have gotten to their baby. Jody is still on her path to her baby, but I think very close. And I always think it's also good to highlight that, that this, as many of you know, as that are on the journey, sometimes it's probably annoying to just hear all the really like, and then she did this and that thing worked and now she's pregnant. And I also think it's important to highlight the women that I've been working with where we've seen all these radical shifts. And now we're just sitting in the preparedness and awaiting the arrival of this positive pregnancy test. I did have a dream that she was going to announce today that she was pregnant, but alas, she's not. But that's okay. It means it's coming soon because I get the dreams and I think it's coming soon. So I'm excited. But why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your journey and
Sure.
and we'll unpack it.
So I think for me, it really started when I started puberty, because I was that girl who had the bad periods and was on the bathroom floor, curled up, trying to, because the tiles were the only cool thing that would give any relief. And that went all the way through high school, into university. One of the last episodes that I had, I was over 30. So it continued for years. And in those episodes, I got to the point where I would get really sweaty, clammy hands. I'd get roaring in my ears. And finally, I would just lose my vision entirely. Everything would go black. I could not see a thing. I was totally conscious, but I just couldn't see a thing. And had been seeing doctors and was getting it's just your iron, you just need to take more iron. And that was as much support as I got in terms of that. And then we got married and we decided we'd like to start and have a family. And that continued for a while. We were trying for a while and nothing was happening. So we started having a conversation about, well, should we go and see some specialists? And we were hemming and hawing about that. My husband came across a post about a recommendation of a Chinese medicine practitioner who had this program. And we read about his program and went, you know what? This is probably the thing that aligns the most with where we want to go. So we made an appointment to go and have a chat to him and sat down, and he said, okay, so tell me about your cycles. And I told him, and he said, did you know that period pain is not normal? And I said, what do you mean? He said, period pain is common, but it's not normal. Mm-hmm. He said, I'd like to recommend that you go and see a laparoscopic surgeon. And
this was like 2015, right? Because that was the first
lap. Yeah.
This is 5 years ago, right?
That's right. And based on that, I went and saw this laparoscopic surgeon, had the surgery, came out of it, and he said, yeah, you did have endometriosis. We've cleaned that up. You should be fine. So we were doing the program with this doctor, doing Chinese herbs and changing the diet, doing acupuncture, and still nothing was happening. And so we stopped with him for a while, and I was noticing that some of my endometriosis symptoms were coming back. And I'd gone back to him and I said to him, what do you think? Is it possible that the endometriosis has grown back? And he said, yes, it can grow back. And I said, okay, well, as good as the surgeon was the first time, there was some personality conflicts. So we said, well, we'd prefer to see somebody else. So he gave me another recommendation. And we saw the second surgeon, and he did the laparoscopic surgery again for me. He also said that at that time my tubes were blocked. And he said they were quite blocked because he had to apply a bit of pressure to get it to release.
So the first surgery didn't address that, basically.
No, which is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was very highly recommended.
Right.
So that was 2017. And at the end of 2000, it was the timing of that year, because we went and saw him on the 26th of April. The very next day, we flew out to come down. We flew into Adelaide to go to and drive then from Adelaide to Mildura because my mother-in-law was in intensive care. So we'd walked out of that doctor's surgery and saying, I can't book right now. I don't know what's happening in the next immediate future because we're having to do this family emergency trip. And we stayed down there for a week, came back, set up the surgery, had the surgery. So that went through and that was really good. And he said to me, we might start some IUIs. So we did a couple of IUIs with him, and that seemed to go okay. Yeah. And we got to about, I think it was just the end of November.
Yeah.
And just prior to that, I was getting all geared up and saying to my husband, okay, next cycle, we need to look at a few things. And he's saying to me, do you really think that that's the right thing for us at this point in time? He said, we've got a lot going on right now. His mother was still unwell. She was at home. We'd made the decision that in August that we were going to move to support the family because mum and dad were down here on their own. We were going to move down here. I'd arranged with my work that I was going to be able to work remotely. So we're in the process of finalising renovations to sell the house. And he said, I really don't think that's the right thing for us right now. And I was just crushed. I went, okay. And I went into the doctor and I told the doctor all of this. And he said, you know what? He said, I think your husband is a very wise man. And I went, okay, we'll just take a break.
Frustrating. I mean, at this point, you've already been on the journey now. It's like 3 years at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but we took a break. At the end of November, we had to come down here again. And his mum was in palliative care by that point. So we were here for a week before she passed away, but we were able to be here and spend that time with her. Even though she wasn't conscious, we were still present. And I wouldn't have changed that for the world. So we left that, and that was quite emotional, saying goodbye to her. Then having to drive back to Brisbane, finish, and literally the day we arrived, we had the real estate agent meet us that night and present a contract for our unit. We'd been gone 2 weeks. She started showing the house the day we left.
That's crazy.
So within 2 weeks, our house was sold. And so we just went, okay, well, things are moving, and they're moving very, very quickly. And from the time we got back 8 weeks later, we were driving out of Brisbane to arrive back down here with all of our stuff packed up in the car and starting our new life in our new location. And so my new normal was working remotely, and I was getting right into work and doing all of that stuff. Part of the agreement that we'd had when we'd agreed that I would work remotely was that in March I would have 2 weeks where I'd go back to Brisbane to be present for meetings. And so I did that and came back, and we fell pregnant within that week that I arrived back. And it was like, oh my goodness, it's happened. You know, in all those years of trying, we'd not had a positive pregnancy test. And both my husband and I said, we know our bodies can do this. This is great. And so things were going really well. I was saying to my husband, though, I thought I'd be experiencing more signs of being pregnant. And we went for the scan at 9.5 weeks. And the technician said to me, I can't see a sac, I can't see anything. There's no heartbeat. And I was just in shock, absolute shock. I went back to the doctor, and the doctor said to me, well, it's possible we could just have the dates wrong and we'll do another scan. And I'm going, you can't fake a heartbeat.
Yeah.
It was like he was trying to make me feel better. And I just went, no, we need to be facing reality here. Mm-hmm. And so that was half a week after I'd had the scan. And I'm thinking, this doctor really has no idea. I couldn't comprehend it. And that following Sunday morning, I'd rolled over in bed and thought, oh, I don't feel right. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'm bleeding, and reached over, hit Neville, you've got to get up and change the sheets, because I didn't know what to expect. I'm just expecting that and I'm stumbling into the bathroom, and he's came out to me later, and, you know, of course I'd had the miscarriage at home. And it was absolutely wonderful, you know, because once I'd got myself together and had a shower, crawled back in, he'd made the bed, cleaned the bed, and crawled back into bed. I was just so cold because I was in shock, having lost all of that blood. And he said to me, so what can I get for you? Do you want me to heat you up some bone broth? And I said, yeah, that'd be great. So for that morning, you know, that was the first thing he thought of that he could do for me, was to heat up some bone broth. So that's what he did. And, you know, for the next 2 weeks really, as I continued to lose blood and stuff. But he just kept feeding me bone broth for the rest of that time. And I genuinely believe that part of my healing following that miscarriage was the fact that I was on so much bone broth, because it really, and it's that comfort food for me. Mm-hmm. It really makes me feel good. So that then sort of led us to the point where we went, well, do we continue to explore the options of professional and IVF? And my husband had been a bit traumatized through the process with the first surgeon, so he was very resistant and didn't want to have to go through all of the testing and everything again. I'm like, okay. And at that time was when you were advertising the next intake of the e-course.
Right.
And I said to him, well, what about this? And he went, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. So we signed up for the e-course.
And when had you already read Yes, You Can Get Pregnant? I can't remember the events that led you to me.
I genuinely don't know. I've been connected with Nat Kringoudis for quite some time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I was listening to Nat's podcast, and I know that she's had you as a guest on.
Yeah.
And when Body Belief came out,
Right.
I know that she interviewed you for Body Belief, and I know that she promotes when the e-course comes out. Yeah. So I think it was through Nat that I was connected with you. But having heard you on the podcast, I knew that you wrote the book. I'd looked you up, borrowed it from the library, and avidly reading. And so when it came up, I was like, yeah, I'm going to give this a go. So we chose to do that and signed up as part of the group and working through the e-course. And part of it for me was like confirmation of the journey that I had been on all of that time, because starting with the original Chinese medicine doctor back in Brisbane, we had been changing our diet along those lines anyway. Doing a lot of fermented foods and experimenting with doing a lot of fermented foods at home. It was like this whole new discovery of food. And that's been a part of the journey with the food that I have absolutely just loved and flourished, because I feel like I eat more widely than what I ever did before. People object to having things like gluten taken out of their diet, but what you're exposed to, the opportunities with food as an alternative can just blow your mind.
Yeah.
And that for me, I love that. I love being in the kitchen and experimenting. So when I signed up with the e-course, it really just finally honed the direction of those changes.
Yeah.
And gave me a baseline, something that I could just check myself against, really. And following on, I'm an avid reader. I love reading and how the body functions, and just the capability of the body just fascinates me no end. So there's a number of people, like Dr. Libby Weaver is one of my favorites, and just reading, and the more I'm reading that stuff, it reaffirms.
I told you about Deep Nutrition, right? Did you read Deep Nutrition?
Yes,
I told you, that's such a good book, right?
I'm going to get that. I haven't read it yet, but
you'll love it.
That is the direction, because all of this time that I'm reading this stuff, I mean, a really great example, the antioxidants. Why do we take the antioxidants? Dr. Libby Weaver in her book just beautifully explains biochemically what goes on in the body. So I'm like, give me those antioxidants, because
for the oxidation, right? Yeah.
So I understand. So from that food perspective, the e-course, the learning for me has just complemented so much, so that when I'm taking my supplements, I'm going, yep, bring it on. My body loves this, because I know what's so good for me. And as I've been on this journey, the things that I started to notice, the more and more that I had bone broth in particular. My husband used to comment that I had old lady hands, and that just on my top just here would get quite wrinkly. And he'd say, you're really dehydrated right now, aren't you? Have you had any water? So, but once I started taking the bone broth, my whole skin changed. Yep. It's become so much clearer, so much more nourished and hydrated. It's not that wrinkled up prune anymore. It's just lush.
And tell me about this. Tell them about the cervical mucus you were just telling me about before we went live.
Oh, honestly, the last 2 months, my cervical mucus has just improved incredibly. And the last 4 months of my cycle, I've just noticed every month something different is improving.
Even when we met, right, you still had some
occasionally
discomfort.
In my back, it would be like a tension in my back. So that's gone.
And the spotting, you'd have one day of spotting.
Yeah, the spotting's almost non-existent, only very slight coloration. But
and then you would feel really wiped out on your period too. Day one wiped out, occasionally headache.
I've got so much energy.
Yeah. It's like
so much
all the
energy
things are shifting. Yeah.
And I never knew that you could feel like you had energy when you get your period. I never knew that you could get your period and not have any idea that you've got your period. I think, a couple of months ago, I was saying to Aimee that I'm getting my period and I'm not ready for it. So I'm having to, clean things quite intentionally because I'm just not ready for it, because
you don't have any symptoms coming up. Yeah,
that's it. That's right. I didn't have those warnings, and I never knew that you could have a period without having that stuff. So these are all the things that I've been adding up over the journey and going, look at that, look at that, look at that. These are the things that continue.
So you're celebrating the wins, right? The small victories along the way to the big prize, right? Yeah.
I just feel so much more energy. Over a year ago, I had my vitamin D tested, and it was sitting at 28, which was below the lowest limit here in Australia. And you'd said to me at the time to boost it up for the first month, and then after that go back to a regular dose. And that's what I did. And I had it retested 5 months later, and I'd gone from 28 to 78. And it was like, now we're in the realm of where we need to be.
Yeah.
At the same time, my iron was really low. And so I've had a nutritionist that's been helping me with the supplements here in Australia to get my iron back on track. And it took about 6 months with the iron. And I'm going to be retesting that in January to see where it's going. But from my energy and from how I feel, I'm doing okay. And I signed up for the e-course because I was kind of in that place where I thought I just need, there's just these tweaks that I'm needing. Yeah. And it's funny because I thought the tweaks were going to be in the space of, well, there's more testing that we do with the elite that'll give me the answers that I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. And the truth was it kind of didn't. Yes, some of the stuff that came out of that was helpful.
Yeah.
And it's given further confirmation of the things that I'm doing.
It was confirmational, I think, more than anything. It was like, oh, okay, we're on the right path. We've been doing everything. Yeah.
The real work was up here.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk about that go ahead. You're doing great. Yeah.
I think it was the 2019 when you were doing the Stories of Hope. One of the interviews that you did was with Dr. Samantha.
Oh, yeah. And who just texted me while we were on. Is that funny?
Oh.
Dr. Samantha texted, I have 3 messages from her right here on my phone. Because, and you know why? I mean, it's funny. It's so funny. Because Marissa and her went to high school together. Marissa Katz, who just did the 130 with me.
Yes.
But it's random because Dr. Sam was working with me at the time. And then Marissa sees her pregnant and she's like, oh, you're so inspirational. Like I'm trying to have a baby. And they don't communicate that they were both actually working with me. And then Sam does a Story of Hope Live with me. And Marissa's like, it was like, oh my gosh. So then, they become, they both live near each other, but isn't it funny? Cause then she texted me, but literally she's texting me right now, 10 minutes ago. So while we're on, isn't that funny? So it was Sam's story. I hope she's watching.
So her story, and the thing that stood out for me in her story was she was talking about the 2 paths, the 2 journeys, and how she finally got to a place where she was at peace with both journeys, both possible journeys, the journey that with children and the journey without children. And that really resonated with me. And from the time that I heard her talk about that, that's been one of the things that I've been continuing to check in with myself.
Yeah.
Are you okay with the journey? Could your journey look like, a journey without children, and are you at peace with that? And along the way, I was like, you know, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. But that was something that I felt that was a marker for me, that when I got to that place where I was at peace with that side of the journey, that's when I truly be able to let go and just relax into this journey. And that started to happen earlier this year as we were working through the elite, that I genuinely took hold of that and went, you know what, I'm okay with this journey. This is I'm now at peace with this.
Yeah.
And either way, I don't have to have that stranglehold on this journey trying to make something to happen.
Yeah.
And as a part of that, I'm now exploring, well, what are the things that bring me joy, and how can I engage with those things that bring me joy, and being more intentional about going down those paths and enjoying what I have.
Yes.
So that's kind of the place where I'm finding myself right now. I haven't stopped dreaming about becoming a mother, and I haven't stopped wanting to be a mother or trying to be a mother. I'm just
She will
in the
be a
place.
mother, mark my words. Yeah, she will be a mother soon. Yeah, I know.
So that is absolutely my heart's desire.
But you're enjoying the path along the way, and I think that's a big take home for a lot of people, a lot of women listening, where it's just so caught, even in these stories of hope, everybody listens to see, like, what is the thing that she did that I'm not doing that I need to do now so that I can get pregnant, right? You know what I mean? And that's why I also enjoy, we did this last year too with Maria, taking on people that are just still in the path and still doing it, and actually finding a way to live in joy and in a space of seeing the dietary changes as nourishment, and seeing the mental emotional changes as, like, oh, isn't that exciting to shift my mindset, or to be more at peace, to find more joy, right? That's a lot of what we worked on in the elite with you.
And it was interesting because earlier this year, around the time that we were working together, I'd had it was last year, the end of last year, I had a confrontation with my husband where we were talking about doing a trip overseas. And this was a real catalyst. And I was like, but I don't feel like I can commit to a trip overseas, because in my mind, and I had to confront this, in my mind, it was an either or option.
Yeah.
Either I go overseas or I become a mum. And it was working through that and coming to terms with, no, it's not an either or. It can be a both.
Yeah.
And it's not sacrificing one for the other. But there was something about that, maybe, planning so far in the future, things could change. And we did, if they had, we would have flexed with it. But that was a real point where I had to confront that for myself and come to peace with that. And so along this journey, it's been difficult for both of us, having to, I think, find those points and confront those points as a couple where we've gone, oh my goodness, we're at that place again where we're sort of in that tension, and having to work through that tension together to go, what's really going on? And I do feel blessed in my marriage in that regard, that it has made us stronger together rather than pushed us apart, because each time we've reached these points of the possible tensions, we've chosen to turn towards each other and talk to each other and work it through together. What's happening for you? Well, this is what's happening for me. And just listen to each other, not expecting each other to feel the same, just listening to where the other person was at and acknowledging where the other person was at. So in that space, it's been helpful, because I do feel so supported from my husband in this process, and he's wanting this as much as I am. He's hurting too. So that it's not just my desire, it's our desire to have a family. And so, yeah, so that's been helpful.
And would you say, a couple of years ago, that level of communication, I think that level of communication was always there between you guys, though it always sounds like you were very healthy.
We've been very intentional of creating those spaces on a regular basis. So, and as the years,
you call it your heart-to-heart time, right? Isn't that what you call it?
Our heart time.
Yeah.
So every week we just sit down and we check in with each other. How's your heart? What's happening for you right now? And that's what we do every week. And because of that, if we have had a confrontation, it's been, okay, well, we'll probably address that in hard time. That sounds, we've created that as a safe space to air that kind of stuff and talk. And as the years have gone on, we're just handling conflict better. Neither one of us liked conflict. We would, so we're working through that and getting better about dealing with that. So, yeah,
there's so much peace. I just sense so much peace and ease. And then talk a little bit about the e-course and the support group and the women in there, because I know you've made a lot of really good friendships in there.
One of my sisters from the e-course just messaged me this morning before I came on to say, is that going to be you? And I'm like, yes. So look, this support group, this whole journey of trying to fall pregnant is probably the loneliest journey that any woman will ever walk through. And finding a group, I don't think there is any other group like this support group that you've created within the e-course. The amount of support and love, the girls are just there for each other. They get it. And while their journey is different from your journey, they have a journey of their own and they have a story of their own. And you can relate and empathize, and they offer that right back without judgment or, and I just cannot speak highly enough for these ladies and the support. It just every week, and even when we've gone away on holidays, I've taken my iPad with me just so that I can keep on track and log in for office hours, because that's how highly I've valued office hours. I don't think there's been a week that I have missed in the 2 years that I've signed up. Even if I'm late and I haven't caught it for a couple of days, I've still gone back and watched.
Yeah.
And
make a good TA. I mean, you would be a good TA right now too, but I see you similar to Laura, once you're through it, and on the other side too, of like, they just stick around and still cheer each other on. And and you're like a guiding ship, it's an honor. It's great.
Oh, that's how highly I've valued the office hours, and that has been what has kept me on track. And it's been the consistency of the message through office hours that I've heard over all of that time. I'll get to a point and I'll go, oh, what should I be doing here? And invariably it comes up in office hours. Well, Aimee says this, and these are my options. And that's just been really helpful for keeping me on track, because the message has not changed. The message has always been the same. And, you just keep saying the same thing. The repetitiveness of that is so helpful, because you take in one of those things at this point in time, but as the journey continues, there's something else that you're adding to that. So that over the year, there's a basket full of these points and tips that just add up together, so that, you're listening to your body, you're reading your body, and you go, oh, something's happening there. Oh, maybe I need to do a castor oil pack, or, maybe I need some magnesium. Week 4 and week 1 of my cycle, I know I need to up my magnesium, and my body loves me for it. So, things like that. But that was the biggest thing when I started toying with the Elite at the beginning of the year, and I said to Neville, what we have invested in the e-course, Aimee has proven beyond doubt credibility with me that I know that I can place myself in her hands to do this Elite, and that the value will absolutely be there. And he said, okay, let's do it. So that's why we did it, and why we went that next step with the Elite, because you kept turning up.
Yeah.
Every week with office hours, you kept turning up, and the message was there, and the message was consistent. And I kept adding those things, as I said, into my basket of what are the things to keep me going. And that's just continued to build.
Yeah, I think I'm more impatient for her to get pregnant than she is sometimes. I mean, I remember, like, why isn't Jody emailed yet? She got to be pregnant soon.
Yes.
I mean, I know you want it. I'm being silly, but yeah, sometimes even in our conversations in the Elite, she's just so at peace, and really, and I assume you weren't always there, but there's this level that, I mean, what I see in you is just the knowing that you'll be there and when the time is right. And so you're really living the preparedness, which is what I talk about all the time, and I love to witness that. But tell everyone about, I guess the question I want to ask is, like, I know you believe this will happen for you, but what keeps your hope alive?
I think for me, part of what has continued to keep my hope alive has been continuing to engage with the group, with the e-course group, with office hours, continuing to hear and support the other ladies has continued to just build my hope. Having walked the journey just recently, we've had Courtney and Laura and Alexandra, who all had babies within the last year.
Yeah.
And all of those ladies, I was there seeing that the start of that journey and seeing that journey come through. So for me, walking alongside of them is keeping my hope alive.
Yeah.
And I wasn't jealous of them. I'm cheering them on. And it's like, that's their story, and my story's coming. My time is still coming.
Yeah.
And see, it can happen for them, and it can happen for me.
Yes.
So,
That's what that's all I want, right? For everyone is to, see it in the social proof. And as much as you look for the negative of, like, I think a lot of people are good at that, of like, oh, 43, I mean, you're screwed, it's never going to happen. You know what I mean? But then it's like, oh, well, come over here and look at all this side. Look at this side, because we have a whole other side of things. And age isn't really the determining factor. It's, it's that vital, juicy cervical mucus you're seeing in the last couple of months. That's the factor, I think. It's and the peace, and enjoying the ride right on your way there, instead of waiting for the thing to make you happy. And we can all have our moments, where there's the sadness is allowed, right, and the grieving is allowed. I think Beth sent me this beautiful, I mentioned it last night in the Q&A, but I'm not going to probably pull it up in time, but it was something about, like, our group allows us to whine and feel sorry for ourselves and have those down moments, but we don't wallow in it for too long, and we all hold space for one another. But then it's like, all right, come on, let's get on with it, and let's enjoy this ride while we're on it too. And because one day, and I hope soon, I believe soon, you'll be on the other side of it, and maybe a little sleep deprived and tired and not having as much time to read, and you're not going to mind a bit, it'll be all worth it. As Marissa said before, she said, new parenting is there's challenges, but I will never complain. I will never complain about these challenges. They are amazing. And it's like, sure, it comes with, so do you have any, I want to pop over and see if there's any burning questions. I think everybody's just feeling so inspired by you. Thank you so much. This gives me so much hope. Thank you, Jody. Fantastic attitude and outlook. And I can't see any more than that because my computer doesn't let me see all the comments. Let's see. Oh, here comes another one. Yeah, everybody's just saying how amazing you are, which I agree. We were honored that you wanted to come live with us. And yeah, do you have any last words for the girls that, I mean, you know, are there with you, is still in this journey?
Look, from the support alone of joining the e-course and having the support of the other ladies who are walking this journey, you will get so much value out of this. It will just, not only will you get the value, but you'll have the opportunity to pour into other ladies as well. And that just gives you so much joy to offer something to others as well. You will not feel alone in the journey. When you start to hear and see some of the journeys of the other ladies, you really won't feel alone anymore. And that alone would be the biggest endorsement that I could give for the e-course, because as I said, I genuinely believe that walking this journey of waiting is the hardest journey any woman has walked. Yeah.
And you feel supported, and if anything,
absolutely,
all the new friendships too, you know. I know I love to see the little friendships forming and who's supporting who, and it's just so beautiful to watch. It really is. All right, so I want to give away a scholarship now is what I want to do. What do you think about that, Jody? I know. I just, I'm texting Beth because I can't entirely see everyone that's on. So let me see. It's taking her a second to get back to me. For some reason, you see me struggle with this in office hours. I don't know what it is. When I'm live, I can't always see the, let me just see. So Beth, let's see. So you're going to sit tight for 1 second, Jody, while we give away a scholarship, because I think it's fun. Let's see. Oh, you guys are cute. Everybody's getting excited. So we're going to give away a scholarship. All right. You guys ready? Are you guys ready? What, Saturday? What's that? Oh, okay. So the vote is, we picked out of a hat for the people that are on that filled out the application. Kristen Golke, Gohlke. You ready for that? Are you ready? Yay! We're giving you a scholarship to the e-course. I can't wait. And I know if you didn't get picked, so ready. All right. So then I think Beth has your email, so she can email you. Okay. Well, I gave it. Kristen is in. She's saying, she's excited. Okay, you guys are gonna message. Beth will get in touch with you on the next steps. And the other ones, don't be disappointed. Don't feel left out. I love all you guys, and you know, just stay. I have another live tonight at 7:00. But definitely tomorrow. I don't know if tonight I'll give away another one, but definitely tomorrow, and then definitely on Saturday when we have your buddy Alexandra on, which will be really fun too to share that story. We'll give away. I'm going to give away more scholarships too. Okay, so. Thank you, my love, for being here. And I can't, you know, I always love updates from you. Yeah, she's just rocking it. I mean, there's no kinks left in her system to fix. She's just now enjoying her life and awaiting the arrival of baby. And I can't wait for that part.
That's it.
And enjoying the ride, right? You're enjoying the ride. And it's an honor to be on this path with you. So thank you for letting me be a part of your journey.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, guys, I'm going to see you soon, 7:00, but we're going to be on Instagram at 7:00 with another story of hope with Annie, who is actually pregnant and in her 30s and has done some IVFs without success, but we'll share that story in a bit. I think she's about 20 some odd weeks pregnant or 30 weeks pregnant. So we'll see you guys at 7:00. That'll be on Instagram, but then we'll put it up on Facebook. So if you can't make it over to Instagram, we'll see you then. And then thank you so much, my Jody. I'll let you go about your day now. You're up early for us, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll switch it, have breakfast and get straight into work now.
And straight into work. Okay. Well, I love you and I'll talk to you soon. Okay. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you.
Bye, my love.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.